Well, welcome everyone. It's wonderful to be here with you. This morning, I've been thinking a lot about the tragic events in Palestine, Israel, and not to speak about them specifically other than to note our importance of our engagement in some way. I did find a piece of poetry from a poet I really love, who's a national poet of Palestine, Mahmoud Darwish, just a little slice of a poem that I think fits us well. So I'd like to share that and then add just my little interpretation at the end. Darwish says, "A dream is a piece of the sky found in everyone. We can't be boundlessly realistic or pragmatic. We are in need of the sky to strike a balance between what is true and what is imaginary." So I add today, our presence here with one another is piecing together a dream, a piece of the sky that insists that everyone has a right to safe and secure shelter. So welcome to all, and especially welcome to our open table. We are delighted to have people from all areas who care about the issue of shelter with us today. And what we do, we have a set of norms for our working on this Zoom thing that we've been doing for a year, and some conversation norms. And at some point, if you could put those in the chat, that'd be great, Rob. Just to one, for anyone who's new, if you want to say something, there's that little hand that's on most of the Zoom things. It's different colors and different places, so I won't tell you where it is, but just put the little hand signal up and that will help Rob or whoever else is leading a discussion know that you're wanting to speak. Other than that, keep yourselves muted when you're not speaking. And if you are indeed doing something else while you're muted, but you use a lot of hand gestures when you're talking to people, it might be good to take your video off for briefly while you're doing that as well. So at this time, if there's someone new today or someone who's coming back after a long time away and wants to reintroduce yourself, please just unmute and say who you are, if you're with a group, what group that is, and not a long introduction, just so we know you're here. You can also add things in the chat about what you're interested in or what kind of resources you might be looking for. So anyone may start.
I don't see my icon for the hand, but I'm Carol Colleran, and I'm with Revenue for Housing and St. Leo's.
Welcome, Carol. It's great to have you.
Thanks.
I'm Sadie. I'm with Valeo Vocations, and yeah.
And we're going to hear more from you later in the meeting. Yeah. Welcome, Sadie. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
Cynthia, I see your hand up.
Thank you. So I'm not new. I've been coming here for several years now, but I did want to make an announcement, and actually it's an invitation. So I'm a member of the Racial Equity Committee of the Continuum of Care Committee. And we are inviting anybody in this group who's interested in racial equity to join us on June 4th at 1 o'clock. And if you're interested in getting the link to that meeting, just put your name and that information in the chat, and I will make sure that you get it. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Shoko? Welcome.
Yes. Yes, hi. My name is Shoko. I'm just a citizen living downtown, the museum district. I'm engaged in litter pickup activities, and that's the reason I started to be interested in your group, because many of the litters I pick up are caused by, unfortunately, homeless.
Well, thank you for doing that, and thank you for joining us. We are all trying to solve the problems associated with not having sufficient housing for everyone. So thank you for coming.
No problem.
Barbara, go ahead.
Hi, it's been a while since I've been in to see you guys. So good to see you. And I'm Barb Kelber, and I'm associated with Elevate Health and also On the Road. So
Well, welcome, Barb.
Hoping
It's
to get
great to
back
see you
into
back.
this.
I saw your whole name. I didn't see your face as well. So welcome. It's nice to see you again.
Thank you.
All right. So if anyone else would like to put any information in the chat to introduce, oh, Rachel, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Rachel Ahrens from First United Methodist Church. On Saturday, from 9 a.m. to 1:30, we are hosting a resource fair at the church in the front of the building. We're at 621 Tacoma Avenue South, and that is in conjunction with Partner Cafe. And we're going to have a few tables, actually more than a few tables set up for the resource fair. It'll have coordinated care, a couple CMAR Health Clinic, Goodwill, Pierce County Aging and Disability, and more. So if you know of anyone that wants to stop by. Also, the food bank is open in the back of the church from 9 to 12:30. So people can get food as well.
Thank you, Rachel. And thanks for your work and glad to see you here.
Thank you.
So Rob, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Rosemary, and welcome to everyone who shared with us this morning. We are going to shift gears to talk about what's happening on the streets this week. So this portion of the meeting is just to talk about changes that we've seen, needs that we've seen that are new in the areas that are being used by those who don't currently have a place to live other than on our streets or sidewalks. So let's get started with Kevin.
Thanks, Rob. Just want to give an update on our vaccine outreach program. To date, I've distributed about 950 hygiene kits and about 550 of the cell phone chargers or no, I guess they can charge anything, just the portable chargers. Those have a message emblazoned on them with information about how to get dates and times for clinics. Distributed them at injection events and also out to a number of our community partners who do outreach teams. I still have about maybe 50 hygiene packs and about the same number of cell phones or phone chargers. So let me know if that's something that you would like to have. I also just got, and they're activated now, 160 $25 Safeway gift cards, ostensibly for gas, but for anything. So if you're doing outreach, and it would be helpful to have some of those to give folks so that they could get to the events. I'll put my email in again, and I will get them to you ASAP. And that's all through Garrett's great fundraising efforts, a grant through CHI Franciscan, and then also one from the State Department of Health. So just didn't want you to think I was out there buying these things and handing them out.
Thank you, Kevin, and Garrett for that matter. So other folks with comments from what's happening out on the streets. I see Jeffrey on his phone with us live right now. I know he and Colin were going to be going out to 35th and Pacific this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jeffrey.
Oh, hang on. Puppy got a little crazy. Yeah, I haven't seen Colin yet, but oh, there he is, just pulling in. I was out yesterday with a photographer with TNT at 6th and M. Police presence regularly over there. There's about 29 tents on one street and about 11 on the other. Did get some good interviews, and we'll see what's going on. Tacoma Public Works is hanging around here too. We are down on 34th Street. I've already been down here once today to bring down some garbage bags and brooms, and they're very thankful for those items. And I would, if anybody else is in outreach, bring bags because they're in dire need. All the camps are in dire need. So I'm going to turn it back over to you guys, and I'm going to meet up with Colin here, and we're going to get set up.
Sounds good, Jeffrey. All right. So anyone else with information about what they're seeing on the streets this week?
This is Jenny. Inside Passages went out with the Rise Center outreach teams this week. Sorry, let me see if I can quiet my... Sorry. We went out with the Rise Center outreach teams and the CMAR outreach teams this week on Wednesday. The G Street encampment has been cleared out because of road work that they're going to be doing. The Rise Center outreach said that they're not sure where they've been relocated. So that was kind of disappointing. Because nobody knows where they've gone. There's no parking signs all the way up and down the street there. So they're going to see if they can figure out where those individuals have been relocated to. We also went to Yakima, and we were able to get a couple of folks enrolled in services, and they're going to be working with us at Inside Passages, as well as we got them connected to HIMIS, and so we'll see, how that goes. This is my life this morning. And I'm meeting with another individual who's staying on J Street this afternoon. She doesn't have a phone, so she's going to come back to the Rise Center. They're going to pick her up so we can get her connected to services as well.
Great. Thanks, Jenny. All right. So any other last additions for the On the Street section before we move on to our first presentation? I see Teresa's hand up. And you're muted.
So just to say that in terms of the folks who were staying in front of our house, which is where Jenny was talking about, we did have conversations. We've had a lot of conversations over the last week since the notices were sent out. And some of the folks, they didn't move as a whole group to any one place. So I know that some of them moved just a few blocks away so that they could come back and have their cats still be in the neighborhood, which is where they're used to them being. I know that some cars did get towed away, some cars that weren't working. We had a lot of car repair being done on this street. So I don't know the outcome of that. One of the cars I didn't even recognize that was being towed away. So it'd be good if we could give people information. That's another piece that could be left with people. If your car is towed, this is where it will be. But mostly people were prepared for it because they had plenty of notice and they knew that it was about road work. And so, yeah, I would think, don't be looking for a whole group of people having moved en masse someplace, because when I talked with people, that wasn't their plan. Some of them were staying together, but mostly they were moving around.
Thank you, Teresa. And Shoko, you have your hand up as well.
Yes, thank you. I also noticed G Street and I can't pronounce the street's name. The behind the Bates Street. Yeah, they're being cleaned up. And then I was, I think I emailed NCS and maybe I copied Jared too, if they can have some sort of numbers of, the people who are removed and how many went to shelters, and that type of, any of those information I think is helpful. And then I assume your organization may be interested in that as well. So that's one thing. And the other thing I wanted to notice is I jog and bike around all this area, and then I've been noticing E25 Portland corner, the trash is being piled up so long. And again, of course, I put 311 every time. when I see them.
Mhm.
And the NCS is well aware of it. I thought that they are one of their area of regular contractor pickup. That's what initial information I got from NCS stated. However, evidently it's not now, and they said that area is belong to transit.
Sound Transit, yeah.
Sound Transit, yeah. So I really don't care whose land that is, but that's been an issue, and it's been over a week that since I put 311, it has not been removed. I don't know. That was as of yesterday, day before yesterday. That's it.
Thank you, Shoko. And one last item I saw, well, I guess he took his hand down. Jeffrey had his hand up briefly, but let's move to, well, actually, Colin, are you ready to talk with us yet, or it doesn't look like maybe he is quite yet. So let's move on to our first item on the agenda, and that is, I would like to invite Sherry Jensen and Sadie Spears to talk about Valeo Vocation, and specifically, I know you wanted to talk about the Transitional Employment Pathway program. So Sherry, you're ready to do that?
Yes, hello everybody. Thanks, Rob. I'm going to go through this PowerPoint, but I'm going to warn everybody that it's long. We have 15 minutes, so for the sake of time, I'm just going to go through some of the high-level stuff about who Valeo Vocation is, what we do, and tee that up for Sadie, who is our new hire crew supervisor. So let me see if I can figure out how to share this. Let's see. All right. So Valeo Vocation is an employment social enterprise. Employment social enterprise simply means that we are a community-based organization focused on using a business model to provide services to our community. Very similar to a for-profit staffing agency, we generate revenue by going out into the community, partnering with local businesses who need assistance with their workforce, and we charge a staffing fee. The difference between us and a for-profit staffing organization is that the revenue we charge goes back to program implementation. There are hundreds of employment social enterprises nationwide. There are thousands of for-profit staffing agencies nationwide, and there are only 70 nonprofit staffing organizations. The employment social enterprise as a model really focuses on that transitional employment, quick access to income. We provide support services, case management. We prepare folks with job readiness skills and prepare them to enter into the competitive employment marketplace. Retention is not something that we have been super great at over the last couple years. We launched in July of 2018, and we have grown exponentially. Currently, we're serving about 90 individuals every month with the goal of expanding on that this year. So retention is incredibly important to us. And in our City of Tacoma contract, we recently wrote in some metrics to measure that. So hold on one second, just like Jenny, I have to yell at my daughter, Rowan.
And one request, Sherry, if you can make the slides larger. I don't know if there's a way to hide that sidebar on the right.
Let's see, how do I do that? Is that bigger?
That's bigger.
I see. Technology is not my forte. So it's such a big PowerPoint presentation. I had to condense it into PDFs to get it to.
Oh, right.
So, all right, let's see. Okay. Valeo does use evidence-based methodology. We did not just come into this program without looking at the research and ensuring that it's a model that works. So there has been lots of data with employment social enterprises nationwide. We have found that a lot of folks who come into employment social enterprise, a lot of them have never had a legitimate job. They come in with barriers to employment, previous experience with the criminal justice system, with homelessness. So I'm going to go pretty quickly through these. Let's see. ESC's benefits to society, the policy or the research that's been done has found that there's 123% return on investment for taxpayers, government, philanthropy, and the people they serve. What do ESCs offer? Most ESCs provide training, focus on job retention, self-sufficiency. Employees went from receiving 70% of monthly income from public benefits to earning 70% of their income in earned wages. Other facts highlighted: life stability, housing stability tripled. At Valeo, last year alone during a pandemic, we helped about 53 individuals move into housing. These are individuals who were living in street, shelter, car homelessness when we were introduced to them. ESC core values, growth and mobility, immediate access to income. That is really the primary objective with Valeo, is we want to bring folks in and immediately connect them with income, either through our Transitional Employment Pathway program, which we'll be talking about soon, or through our staffing model. There's a certain dignity that comes with earning bona fide wages. Hi, kitty. There are lots of employment social enterprise in Washington. Of this whole list, there are only 3 total nonprofit staffing agencies: Uplift Northwest in Seattle, formerly Millionaire Club Charity, and Weld Seattle, which is a new nonprofit staffing organization. So what is Valeo's purpose? To combat poverty and homelessness in Pierce County by offering quick access to income combined with wraparound support to help participants create a well-defined path towards permanent employment and housing. My daughter's building a fort in the living room right now. It's quite distracting. Rowan, stop. Workforce expertise. Valeo launched in 2018 through my work with the coalition back in 2017, when the then Mayor Strickland declared an emergency over homelessness. I used my workforce experience to launch Hire 253, and through the work at Hire 253, through my work at Sound Outreach, really said, hey, where are gaps in services? We are doing a lot of work in advocating for more housing, for more attainable housing. But what about employment? Lots of folks who are living homeless either have earned income or could move in that direction with comprehensive case management and wraparound support. So we created this solution really because of the work that I had been doing with the coalition previously. All right, and I'm going to go pretty quickly through these just to be mindful of time. Employment social enterprise can be really any type of business model. There's bakeries, they sell baked goods. There are restaurants. We are an alternative staffing organization. And again, there's 70 of us only nationwide. I'm going to. Through the pandemic, a lot of you know that we had to make quick pivots and do lots of things that we did not expect to do. When we launched Valeo in 2018, we had really focused on providing day labor, working with the construction, production, light industrial markets, but pandemic hit and we had to quickly pivot, and we were able to leverage our model to move into shelter operations. We partnered with the health department, with the YMCA, with City of Tacoma, really created unique programming to keep job seekers employed. One of the first steps that we took was to extend eligibility for services beyond the requirement of having to be experiencing homelessness or showing that they were low income. We said any job seeker who was COVID dislocated or any job seeker could come to us, and that allowed us to really move into the focus area of nonprofit staffing, which we continue to do through our partnership at Bethlehem, and I presume we will continue to do. Now this is my favorite part because it is about our Transitional Employment Pathway program, which is the foundational program at Valeo. Sadie is here today as one of our new staff members, and Sadie came to us through the launch of TEP. When we launched in 2018, we executed a contract with the city of Tacoma to offer employment services exclusively to Stability Site residents. Sadie was one of our first participants, and she really embodies how somebody can go through a transitional approach from not working, not engaged in workforce, struggling with employment barriers, and move through to permanent employment. Sadie, when we connected, she very quickly said, I want to work. And we said, okay. And we put a plan in place, and she was able to do the things that she needed to do to address her barriers. Within the first 3 or 4 months of working with her, we had moved her into housing and had identified a paid internship, we call it OJT, on the job training, for her at an organization where she had said, this is the only place that I've ever felt welcome. And so we knocked on their door and we said, we have this amazing gal who would love to work here. She says that you've made her feel so comfortable. And they said, great, we'll never create funding for her. There's never going to be any opportunity for full-time employment. And we said, that's okay. This is going to be the opportunity that she can learn and increase her skills and improve her resume. And within 3 months of working there, they said, hey, can you please extend her for a couple more months because we are going to find funding for this position. We want to hire her. So we did, and they did. And she worked there for about a year and enrolled into school. She's still in the Human Services program. And she came to work with us back in, I want to say, October as a shelter staff worker. So before I pass it over to her, I will go over TEP. TEP is a 3-phase approach to transitioning individuals experiencing significant barriers to employment into full-time employment and housing. Phase 1, which you all have probably heard about, is our Hire Crew. It's helping individuals reintegrate into employment. And Hire Crew operates really to provide that immediate access to income. We don't care where you're at. We don't judge you by any of the barriers that you have. Folks come to us with, they're experiencing homelessness. They may have substance use issues. They may have behavioral health that has not been addressed, and we don't care. We want you to come and we'll provide work opportunities for you. Sadie, do you want to go ahead and take over? Are you there, Sadie?
Sadie, you're muted right now. Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, I'm sorry. So I want to start by saying good morning. I had this whole spiel about what I was going to say, and then I got in front of the camera. But what I want to first start out with is I want to give thanks out to Sherry because what she so gently said is that a couple years ago I was homeless and I was addicted to drugs. I was abusing drugs. So I thank her because now that I'm in a position to help other people, she kind of thought about me. She thought about me and the ability of mine to give back to the community that I've taken from, right? So let me get back onto Hire Crew. Hire Crew pretty much stands for helping individuals reintegrate into employment. In a short other words, out of my experience, because I've only been doing this for about a month now, it allows me personally to show skills or steps that I've taken to become professional or I guess perceived as a hardworking, dedicated, civilized person that pays taxes, right? And I am handed a group of people that start off probably not wanting to work, and if so, can only be able to work like a couple of hours. And I'm slowly starting to integrate work ethic the ability to stay on task, the self-care you need for breaks, and certain things like that. We dispatched 4 times a week to different local communities. And our goal is to beautify the local Tacoma area. Right now, we are working heavily with Metro Parks, pretty much pulling out, grubbing weeds and doing things to help Metro Parks' parks, like look, let me put it this way. So the way that it was put to me is that when I started there, the 19th, she said that we have been helping her not only beautify the Metro Park area, like the parks, but from what I've seen, it has been able to reconnect the people that have been disconnected from society back into society as we're working. A lot of our jobs consist of light landscaping work. For right now, I am trying to look for different partners to start doing like litter pickup. There was pressure washing and graffiti removal, but we've done a little bit of graffiti removal, but not too much of that stuff. We're pretty much here to give back to the community. That's something that personally is a blessing to me. And something that I'm learning is that I can do that without having people or allowing people to see their own path, right? Which allows them to do better. So the only really requirements that I have, because as you heard, hire crew is like step 1. It's for a low barrier access. I have a great personality, 1. 2, I love to see people where they're at because that's like the realest, the rawest. It doesn't get any better than that, right? So from there, it's like I am able to show them that they don't have to enclose themselves, they don't have to change themselves. They just have to be better versions of themselves, right? Because they see, first of all, they see me because I really work what I preach, and they know that. A lot of people that I've worked with so far, I used to, on a personal level, used to be homeless with. I did a lot of drugs with them, and for them to see me in a different way kind of helps them get through the scary part of whatever transition they feel like they're going through to get through it. But by saying that, the only requirements that I have for anybody that wants to join the program is that they have their I-9 documentation. It's just ID and your social security's card, right? But other than that, I am literally meeting them where they're at. And if that means recruiting them at campsites, I do that. I've gone to stability sites. I've gone there twice so far. A little on a different note, I actually used to live there. And it's actually a weird thing going back there doing work like recruiting and resourcing for other people when it was done for me. So pretty much I'm learning how to give back in a way that was given to me that allowed me to be actually really successful in life. So thank you.
Thanks,
I hope I wasn't
Sadie.
too long.
Nope, you're wonderful. And y'all, I was showing you the wrong PowerPoint. No wonder I was all tripped up. Sadie, I tell Sadie all the time, the program defines the program. Before Sadie and our other participants and seeing some of the success, it was just an idea and a model. And when we got the opportunity to extend higher beyond just a stability site, Sadie was the first person. Her face is on our van, Sadie. I told Sadie, I said, you're going to be driving our van with your face on it. So really hire crew is that low barrier access to employment. And it's an opportunity to provide unique case management. Sadie is working right alongside individuals, being able to identify their work readiness, empowering them to begin thinking about taking those first steps towards change. And so it's a beautiful process, and Sadie does wonderful. So I know that we are out of time. So the other slides I flipped through were just other programs that we have in-house to provide additional comprehensive support for our folks. So I will leave it there. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sherry. So if folks have questions for Sherry and Sadie, please use the chat. And again, welcome and thank you very much for your presentation from both of you. I do want to call a little bit of an audible here. I know Colin has let me know that he has some folks who would like to share with the coalition from out at the 34th and Pacific area. So Colin, if you're ready to do that now, I can hand over to you. And you're on mute right now, Colin.
Hello, Rob. Yeah, thank you. Jeffrey and I are out here at the 34th and Pacific site. So we've been out here a couple times this week. I don't know if anybody's been by this site, but it is grown, right? So there's some people out here more than willing to talk. There's definitely a community that has been formed out here. They have garbage services that they're paying for themselves. Actually, they got the garbage can dumped and they're paying for it themselves. There's still no portable toilets or any services like that. So we got a couple people. I have Kim right here right now. I think she's willing to talk, and I think she just wants to share a little bit about, you know, the most important voice I think we all know that we have the hardest time hearing. So I think I appreciate, Rob, you doing an audible and giving us the opportunity to truly hear this voice of the experts that are in this. So I'm gonna pass it to Kim.
How are you guys doing?
Hi, Kim.
My voice is a little. So where we're.
Just tell them a little bit about what your story is, what's
Well,
going on out here, what you want.
I've been homeless for about a good 4 years now, you know, due to my own decisions, and being homeless is it's really hard. You know, it's our decisions. We need to make better decisions. We need advocates. We need people that hold us up at a higher, you know, what can I say, better higher level of like looking at the bigger picture. Just, oh, we're in the woods, or we're in these places where we're not supposed to be. Oh, you know, they're labeling us so much that they don't care about us. You know, we get people that come by here with their garbage and dump it on the side of the curb, and they just don't care. You know, so the biggest thing is, oh, it's our health issue. We have people out here we need to wash our hands. We need to use the restroom. We need to be able to dump our garbages. You know, and there needs to be consequences for those things if we don't. There has to be order here, you know, and I think that I understand that a lot of people, we're not to be babysat, but some of us probably do need to be babysat. If there's someone that cares, we'll do better. If there's someone that is here that is, you know, making sure people are okay, you know, there's young men here that collect all kind of stuff, and they don't really necessarily want to collect it. They just want attention. And what I mean by that is they want someone to say, are they okay? Do you need help to throw that away? And then they'll throw it away, you know? So
quick question. What is the community missing? Like, what are we missing that you guys need out here? What do you think we're missing?
It's a unity thing. It's
and what do you need?
And what we need is toilets. We need to be able to, you know, we need toilets, we need shelter, you know, we need tents, you know, I guess they're going to be banning tents, which is crazy. Garbage cans, brooms,
right.
You know, everything really.
Basic
heat,
stuff.
But, you know, and that's really pretty much it. Wipes.
How long are you guys, it seems like there's a pretty tight crew out here. How long have most of you guys been out here?
Most of us been out here most of us been out here a good 5 years.
5 years bouncing around.
Yeah.
How long at this specific site?
Right here, we've been here almost a year.
Almost a year.
But we've been on this street for almost 4 years, just right here.
Just bouncing back and forth, right? Like
from segment to segment, wherever we can put a tent, we try to be there, you know, and we try to keep it clean, and we try to have someone overseeing. I can honestly say I come back and forth to all the camps and I bring what I can, what I have, clothes, gloves, and really for the women that are, you know, battling just with their own higher power, you know, and I try to bring a little bit of that care back, you know, a dress when it's hot outside instead of wearing a sweater, you know, teach them how to keep their skin up. You know, we can still teach them that. You know, we can still teach the men that they have to shave. We can remind them of that. It's okay.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's a bathroom mirror, as long as it's a mirror, right? Because reflection is still us.
So how many people out here do you think would be willing to, let's just say in theory, if the city was willing to say, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make this, we're going to let you people that are here right now, we're going to set up a managed outdoor site or a lightly managed site. There's going to be some basic rules and requirements to be here. How many people do you think would be willing to follow that are here?
I think we all will. I believe we all will. It might be 2 or 3, but you got to understand that still goes along with saying, you know, wherever, you know, a lot of people are living here because of where they live and what they're allowed to do. So if we're talking about responsibility, that's where it's going to begin.
Right.
With me and you guys doing the work.
Great.
Because you're always going to have that one person that's going to stand up and say, hey, I'm riding with these guys. You guys are either going to jump board or jump ship. Which one? Because guess what? The day still goes on. There's 24 hours in a day. So guess what? Each minute that goes by, we got to start making a different positive change in our thinking and what we're doing. So if they don't want to jump on board, trust me, we're still going to outnumber the ones that don't want to jump on.
Right.
We're going to outnumber them.
Right. You know, I think this is great. If there's any questions, Rob, I can't really see. It's kind of a bad view on my camera. But I know that I don't want to take up a whole heck of a lot of time. I'm hoping that this is something that becomes the regular and not just like a very unique situation, because I think we all want to hear this voice. But I don't know specific questions for Kim, or if not, Kim, this is the Coalition to End Homelessness. So these are all the people from the community, whether you're government, you got the county, you got the city on here, and you got all of our amazing outreach workers. So, I mean, if there aren't any other questions, I would just say, oh, it looks like we got one. Can you read it if there is one, Rob? Because I can't really see it.
So there's comments. Sharilla Bivens asked about if there was a way to adopt a site to support. I don't know if you want to address that at all, Colin. I know that's not really a question for Kim.
I would just say, you know, from these people, I don't know what kind of outreach services are coming out here right now, but I kind of asked you this already, but are there any specifics? You kind of name them off of like, we need this, this, and this. And you already mentioned some of them.
I'm going to say this, honestly, coming from a person that's been out here in the streets for a long time, we need a team. There's maybe 2 or 3 females that are over here that are willing to jump on board with me about having the night watch. And that means the night watch here on this campus. That means that things have to go right. That means that friends or family, whoever they are, we have to keep it firm, because that's the only way order will come in. And if they feel like we're being too hard on them, we're not talking about cursing. We're not talking about putting nobody down. We're not talking about throwing nobody's shit out of here. We're not, excuse my language, but we're just talking about simply, do you want to follow the rules or do you not? Because we need somewhere safe to be. That's the biggest thing, safety. So we need safety first. We need a street crosswalk. You know, we don't want people to get mad about us crossing the street, you know, stopping traffic. And if it means walking down a couple blocks just to cross the street, so be it. That has to be enforced. So
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. So I don't see additional questions. I definitely see a lot of thankful comments, Kim, for sharing your story. I see Rachel has asked a question directly. So Kim, you have an encouraging and positive spirit. You're valuable to those who camp at the camp. I admire your strong attitude. So I just wanted to pass that along.
Thank you.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, you know, hey, I don't want to take up a whole lot more of Kim's time, and hopefully this can be something where we can talk to Kim and others. There's a lot of others at the site that are interested in chatting too. So I just think it's important that we see that sometimes just driving by a site and looking at it, it may look one way, but when you actually come in and talk to these people, it's very organized here. Everybody's very open to allowing people to come on the site, and they're willing. They're trying. And I just think from if the city or the county's on this, we're sitting on a city property right here, and right next to us is a county property. And it's just that simple, guys. You guys can make this work if you want to. So I really would say the ball's in the city and the county's court. And we got people that are obviously, as you hear them, they're willing to work with you. So let's figure it out.
I mean, if we're already here, then obviously we can be here. So if we can make it one step further with making it safe and clean and habitable, let's do it. Because I'm on board all the way. I'm trying to get everybody with an income all in my face so we can write down our little goals and plots. Because if we're not paying rent there, that means we can pay for things here. We can do that. We're allowed to do that. You know, with what we have. And we're not saying put thousands and hundreds of dollars. We're just saying little bitty things.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kim. Teresa, did you want to ask one final question before we let Kim go?
Yeah, just a quick thing, Kim. Thank you so much. It's good to hear from you. And I'm wondering if you have taken any time to write down the rules that you are considering in your group.
Absolutely.
Because if you have, I would be really delighted to see them. I think we all would. So thanks.
Yes, I will. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
And I would just say, to me, there's one word that I heard over and over again, and I think it's one word that we all know, and it's safety, right? And I mean, it's really that simple. Safe sites for all, right? So thank you, guys. Thanks for giving Kim the opportunity, and hopefully we can maybe schedule something. Teresa, maybe you can come out to the site and we can pass along the paperwork and really see where they're at with it. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I appreciate everybody listening, hearing. I know that's a voice we definitely need to hear as we guide our efforts, and it actually is a great way to lead into the next piece of our agenda, which was going to be a breakout discussion about the conversations that we need to have, what people need to hear to be motivated to end street homelessness. As everybody in this meeting, most of the people in this meeting know, we've made it a goal, and the county has adopted that goal to end street homelessness in Pierce County by November 1. And we know that there's some serious work to do to make that possible. And one of those big barriers that we need to work through is communication and the message that we use when we're talking with the community. So that's the goal of this conversation. Teresa, I will cue this up now for you to lead us into the breakout groups. So I hand you the floor.
Okay, so thanks for all of you showing up. And I know you didn't show up to do this work, but I'm hoping you're going to be willing to engage in it. We are really working on having a campaign. So not just doing small things all over the place, but doing something that will be publicly facing to help other people in the community who might be on the fence, or people who actually have negative feelings about this work. How do we engage people and let them know what the real issues are, and do some sort of getting rid of some of the false information that has been out there? So this breakout session is asking you actually two questions. One is, what do you think the most important message or messages are? What do you think people would respond most to in terms of working together with us on this? And then the other question is, how do you think we can get that message out? Are there particular groups or modes of media, something that you think would be a really good way to push this campaign out? But the fact is, we really need to get going on this. We have been going on it. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of people doing a lot of work, but this is a way of kind of trying to give everyone a set of talking points that we can bring out, some images that we can bring out. We want to engage anyone who's got some creativity in helping to put the message out there that's going to get us the support we need to make this happen in the community. So that's the queue up. Two questions. Important messages that you think ought to be out there for the community, and important ways we can get those messages out. That it, Rob?
Yeah, that's great. And what I'm going to do is I'm gonna randomly assign folks to small rooms, 5 or 6 folks. And what we'll do is ask the one person in the room to take some notes. When we come back from this breakout, we'll do about a 10-minute brainstorming session. When we come back, please paste your notes into the chat, and what we will build kind of a database of ideas that can be used by the group of folks who are trying to do this campaign. So with that, I will create the rooms and send everybody off, and we'll come back here at 10:01. All right, welcome back, everybody. I hope that was a good, productive conversation, and I'm willing to bet that it was too short, but it's a place to get started. So appreciate your time and thoughts. Please paste your information into the chat, and we will be sure to capture that and work to compile it, excuse me, to get it to Teresa so that we can get going on this messaging campaign. So we are a little behind on our agenda, so I want to shift us over now to do our regular government updates and invite Tegan from the City of Tacoma to offer City of Tacoma updates. Tegan, the floor is yours.
Hey, good morning, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here and see all your smiling faces. That last breakout session was really, really fun. I just want to say, really enjoyed that one. So let's give some city updates. So what do we got going on recently? So the first thing I want to present on is, so staff presented the use of property at South 69th and Proctor during a study session last week. And we are going to be moving forward to implementing a Thames-like model in this location, including moving the units from East 60th and McKinley and expanding available units. So there'll be more units at that space. To stay up to date on this project, please visit www.cityoftacoma/authorized encampments. And I will also put this in the chat. Our rental assistance, the portal is still available. I'll also put a link into the chat for individuals. The update for our current census for our temporary and emergency shelters is also updated on the website. I'll add that link as well, so you're gonna get lots of links from me today. So going back to 69th and Proctor project, so we're working on a timeline for this currently. And when the timeline is solidified, we would like to meet with a small group of representatives from the coalition to discuss development of the site design. If there are any willing participants, we would continue to engage with this group as we move forward in the implementation of this site. It's very exciting. We're going to get a bunch of input also from persons with lived experience and things of that sort. So we'd love to get a little group from you guys. So please, if you're interested, reach out to me directly. Or if you guys want to talk about it and create a group and send it to me later, that's fine too. Whatever makes sense for you guys. So another update I want to give is that the first reading of the no camping ordinance was moved to June 15th. So I want to highlight that. I'll also put a link to the City of Tacoma's Legistar. So if anybody wants to keep up on those updates to when any of that's coming on, I'll have that for you as well. So like I said, lots of links for me today. I think that was the big stuff for my updates. If we have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And if not, we can move on.
Great. And if folks have questions for Tegan, please drop them in the chat. I know the chat is extremely busy right now because everybody's reporting out on the conversations we just had, but we can weed through those and Tegan can get back to you as we move along. For our next bunch of government updates, I'll turn the floor over to, I'm trying to see who's on the call. Do we have anybody from Pierce County to offer updates this afternoon or this morning?
Yeah, this is Jeff. I'm here, but I asked a few people and we don't have an update for today. Sorry. Everything same as last week, so we have no update.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff, and thanks for letting us know. And I did briefly, I got an email from Rihanna from the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department last night. She's unable to attend with us this morning as well. She is working with the other folks from the health department and doing a vaccine clinic at one of the shelters this morning. So So we're a little bit short on government updates. The next item on our agenda was going to be a Continuum of Care update with Gerald. Gerald Daniels has let me know that he doesn't really have a particular update for this week's meeting. So thank you for letting me know that, Gerald. So let's shift our agenda around a little bit and have Maureen talk about advocacy updates.
No problem. If I could real quick, Ross. So
yeah, Gerald.
No problem. I apologize, but I really haven't got my feet wet in the committee yet there. So the other day's meeting, everything was in general, and I've tried to get the meeting notes, and I'll be ready to give at least a general before I get into whichever committee that I'll be a part of for next.
Perfect. Thank you, Gerald. And Maureen.
Okay, so if you work with families with children, remember the child tax credit. They should be, those who are eligible, they should start receiving that money directly into their bank accounts if they have a bank account. I think mid-July, if they don't have a bank account, think about helping them set one up. Seattle Credit Union will do them online. We know that Sound Credit Union, that BECU will do walk by appointment, folks who have shelter addresses, all that sort of thing. I see Mike Yoder, so I know you've got a lot of folks using AM as their address. So let's make sure that everybody who's eligible gets that money. And it might mean they've got to file 2020 federal taxes, even if they don't owe them, all right? So it's, and if you run into trouble, let me know, we'll figure out what to do. But I'm hoping that outreach workers and case managers and everybody who deals with families with children has been getting that message and getting it out to people, because that's going to be that'll be $3,000 for the older kids between July and December. It'll be $3,600 for the ones under 6. So that's could be huge. So then that's one thing. The jobs bill, of course, at the federal level is still sitting in all of the negotiations between the Democrats and the Republicans. Something will happen. I don't think anybody knows what it is right now, but Senator Murray is taking a key point, and we're still saying housing is economic, it's infrastructure. Housing is infrastructure. So stay alert for campaigns around keeping housing in this. Now, a couple of opportunities. So one of them are these emergency housing vouchers that are coming under the American Rescue Plan Act, under ARPA. And we've talked about these before. And so they could be more complicated. Clearly, I don't know how. But HUD has been extraordinarily clear about how this process is going to work. The vouchers these are not like normal HUD vouchers. These are not for people who are already on a waiting list for the local housing authorities. These are targeted housing vouchers that the Tacoma Housing Authority will receive 134. Pierce County Housing Authority will receive 62. Both housing authorities have to formally tell HUD that they want the vouchers by the 24th of May, and they can tell HUD that they not only want what they've been allocated, but they want more. HUD assumes there will be some public housing agencies across the country that will not take these vouchers, and HUD will reallocate them. HUD is adding money to these vouchers so that the housing authorities have an incentive and communities have an incentive. So part of it is the housing authorities, and the housing authorities know how to do this stuff. The other part of this coming from HUD is the Continuum of Care, which has a very specific role. The Continuum of Care is supposed to define how people are actually going to get from homelessness to one of these vouchers. And HUD is very specific about the type of the language in the MOU that the Continuum of Care must sign with HUD. That must be signed no later than July 31st, but these vouchers come July 1st. And part of the money, the incentive money to the housing authorities, is that these vouchers get used within 4 months, which lines up perfectly with our November 1st target. These vouchers, by federal law, are for people experiencing homelessness, whether they are sheltered or not sheltered. They are for people at risk of homelessness. They are for people who are fleeing domestic violence, and that is an expanded world that includes trafficking as well. And they are for people who are housed, but their housing is so unstable that they could, in fact, become homeless again. And that includes folks coming out of public institutions. So I know some of you are working already with the housing authorities, and I know several of you are in the Continuum of Care. A couple of us sat in on that meeting, the Continuum of Care's monthly meeting on Wednesday. And my understanding is that they have a committee that is working on this. The Continuum of Care itself does not have to do the actual work. They just have to make sure it gets done under HUD's guidelines. And so there are continuums of care across the country that run programs. Ours does not run programs. It oversees programs, oversees the homelessness response system. So they're under a fair amount of pressure right now to act. One of the decisions that we can make, and we made it once, we made it in that list of ARPA priorities that we did as soon as we knew the ARPA money was coming, the American Rescue Plan money was coming. And we actually put in to prioritize the new housing choice vouchers for households below 30% AMI. And we could ask the Continuum of Care to hold to that. No matter where they fall in terms, the household falls in terms of eligibility, we could ask for that to be a priority. One of the concerns that I've heard already on doing that is not to do anything that slows these vouchers from getting out.
You know what? I was not aware of that. So yeah.
Dan, you're not muted unless you're trying to ask a question. Thanks. So one of the, on the one hand, there aren't that many, fewer than 200 right now. These do not go with the unit. These are not project-based. These go with the person. And there's a lot of language in the bill and in the HUD guidance about, for that is housing authority specific, how they budget, how they fund, how long the appropriation is, all of that sort of thing. These vouchers go with the person. They stay with the person until the person is no longer eligible for them. And so they're an incredible opportunity. I think if we think of them as a pilot, that and hopefully there would be more vouchers coming. We cannot create the units fast enough, but we can subsidize units that exist. And so I've sent out information. I'm not going to keep sending it to the entire list. I'll send it to Housing Committee, but you can go to that HUD emergency voucher page. It's a clean website. It's got the recordings on it from the trainings that HUD has done already. It's got the slide decks on it. If you have a particular interest in whether you think we should prioritize this or not, let me know. The Housing Committee will talk about this Thursday, the 27th at our meeting. We'll talk about it in the steering committee. And mostly we want these vouchers going out, I think, as fast as possible, as fairly as possible. And so that's the vouchers. Now, the other thing that's out there that has taken shape, so we've been waiting for the state of Washington for the Department of Commerce to tell us how they're going to make the money that was appropriated in the last legislative session available. So Commerce had a meeting with stakeholders Monday afternoon. And the piece of money that we've been particularly interested in is called the Rapid Capital Acquisition Fund. And that money, so there's about 120 million in it, but about 27 million was already directly named, like the apartment building that Lehigh is buying with the city of Seattle. That was a named item in that fund. There's about 93.8 million that is available for competitive and basically first come, first served. So these are the things about it. And what we need is, we need to know how many organizations really want to buy a hotel or an apartment building. It must be uninhabited, all right? You've got to have a purchase and sale. You've got to be able to meet the regular Washington State Department of Commerce Housing Trust Fund thresholds. This is not funding for somebody who wants to begin doing housing for an organization that has never dealt with the Department of Commerce around the Housing Trust Fund. If you fall in that group, you need a partner, and the state said this already, you need a partner who is an experienced nonprofit housing developer who has been working with the state. The only organization that I know right now that's got a purchase and sale is Lehigh. Low Income Housing Institute's got a purchase and sale on that Comfort Inn out on about 84th and Hosmer, I think. I know there are a couple of other organizations that several months ago said they were interested. I don't know if they still are. The money, here's why it's really important. The money's going to come in rounds, but if all the money gets used round one, that's it. And round one requires a match. So we've asked the city and county how they planned to make a match possible. This ARPA money that the cities, all the jurisdictions got, can be used for the match. But not at this point, neither the city nor the county has designated that. So that's now distinct from the building itself. There's the operation, the programs, all right? So some of you I know have an interest in like having a floor. You want a floor for people who are coming out of reentry. You want a floor of people who are, or I guess they're coming into reentry. They are reentry. You want a floor for people who have medical needs. You want a floor for people who are working. You want a floor, you know, that sort of thing. So that's another way to look at this, is to talk to folks who might want to purchase the building and say, look, we'd be interested in operating a floor, or maybe operating the entire thing. So we put on our priority list for the ARPA money of, I can't believe, anyway, we put on that list and we voted 1,000 existing units of housing at 100,000 a unit. That assumes hotels are coming in right now at under 100,000 a room. So, reach out to me, let me know, please. And we'll figure out how to get whatever support is required. And I know the big ones like CCS have got teams to work on this, but some of you might be thinking about it and might just need a little bit of help. So what else do we have? We've got the city, excuse me, has put forward its recommendations for the use of the ARPA money that the city of Tacoma is getting. So they're going to get about 61 million over the 2 years. They have half of it now. They'll get half of it next May 10th. And in the proposal that was put forward to council in the study session, 9.3 million out of the 30.5 that they're expecting, or that they have, is for affordable housing and homelessness. And it's not delineated beyond that. So I've reached out to the city and asked if they have in fact made any preliminary plans, if they've designated any use of that money? If not, are they going to do NOFAs? If so, when are those NOFAs going to come? That sort of thing. I just did that last night, so we don't have an answer yet. We know that each jurisdiction has that money. We know that Lakewood is engaging in a community process as to how to use that money. So be alert to the jurisdictions that you're working in. And I'll try and keep tabs of this. So I think that's it. So those of you who work with people who are not undocumented, back to those emergency housing vouchers, they're not required to show their Social Security number at the time of eligibility, but they are required to show it within 180 days. So, and if you have questions, they're on that website, the HUD Emergency Housing Voucher website, there's a place you can ask questions. And I know the National Low-Income Housing Coalition and folks will start picking up more on these, but the trainings are really good if you have an interest. So let's see. Do you want me just to go into the use of public property?
Yeah, I think that's the next item on our agenda.
Okay, so the use of public property is the ordinance that addresses camping on all public property, all government owned, leased, or easements in the city of Tacoma. That's Ordinance 28756. And we had understood that the ordinance in its current draft, which is now a May 14th draft, would be made available to the city council last Tuesday at their study session. It was not. Instead, the council just received the original ordinance. So I've reached out to the city folks we've been meeting with and said, look, we're getting requests from city council members for the ordinance in its current form. So maybe you all might want to rethink when you're going to give it out. The timeline now is longer, as Tegan said earlier. So this will be, all of the negotiating over the ordinance was done with city council members, with council staff, and the city attorney. City staff on the operational side, the NCS, Office of Equity and Human Rights, Tacoma Police Department, none of those folks were involved. So I think what's happening is that they're going through this new ordinance and looking at the impact on them as staff and their departments. And so right now the timeline is that this goes back to council for a first reading on June 15th with a presumed vote on June 25th. Even in its most current form, it retains the penalty in the code that the first and second offenses would be civil infractions. The fine would be $25 plus whatever the accompanying statute allows, and that would be it. The third offense and any following would be up to $250 in fines and up to 3 days in jail, either or both, with the court having the ability to waive the fines for any person who was judged unable to pay, which is most of the folks that we are concerned about, and that the court could offer community service in lieu of the fines. I don't want us voting yet because we haven't seen a final draft, but we already know we're divided on that issue. Should there be any penalty or not? And the thinking behind it is that people need some sort of a consequence that has meaning. Other people say, no, this just isn't how we help people change behavior, especially this ordinance can't be implemented until we actually have shelter for everybody. And, you know, we're not close to that right now. So, and then there are some of us who don't believe there should be any ordinance at all. So right now, we on the coalition side, we're just waiting. We've put forward an additional question about what exactly does easement mean? Are the parking strips in front of our homes and businesses? Are the sidewalks in front of our homes and businesses? Are those easements? Or are they private? Are they public or what? The city attorney said he would get back to me by Monday. So we just keep putting forward questions and waiting on the city, our city, partners across the table. So that's where we are.
Thank you, Maureen.
Yeah, I see a couple of hands. You want to manage that, Rob?
Yeah. So first, T had her hand up.
Yes.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Thane Nguyen, and I'm a community organizer with the People's Assembly. And I just wanted to share my thoughts and feelings on the ordinance. I believe that ordinances and codes are inherently punitive. And so I'm trying to understand why the coalition is working within a framework of criminalization to develop housing solutions instead of pushing the city to create initiatives that reflect the actual priorities and interests of the unhoused. Perhaps initiatives that actually distribute resources from enforcement of law to actually increasing stability and independence for the unhoused. Personally, being on the streets and building with people and talking with folks about this proposed ban, I find that it's insulting that some folks of this coalition have been sitting around the table with city government, entertaining amendments to an inherently violent attack on public survival. I wonder, where is the analysis of structural oppressions that have created the very conditions that make it so that people can't afford housing, that make it so a disproportionate number of unhoused people are Black, Indigenous, people of color. And, as a community organizer and somebody who works full-time too, these coalition meetings can hardly be considered open to the public when they're happening during working hours and are catered to folks who represent or benefit from the very systems enacting violence against the unhoused. I mean, how many of you are out on the streets talking to folks living outside, hearing their needs and demands, taking direction from them? We had Colin out here who was trotting out Kim almost like as a token, and she even said so herself, this ban was terrible. But instead of asking real questions about what are things that will work for you, it's just kind of this cushioning of the real harms that have been happening. And I believe that the influence and the resources that this coalition hoards needs to be redistributed to folks living through homelessness and to grassroots organizers on the ground who are working to directly support them. The ordinance needs to be dropped entirely. There's no revising a policy that is premised on criminalization and violence against unhoused people. As a coalition claiming to work to end homelessness, you're accountable to unhoused people and should be building alongside them, not partnering with a government system or institution that has repeatedly harmed unhoused people. Those are my comments.
Thanks, T. Thanks for joining us. The conversation's a lot longer than this morning allows, but I think, yeah.
The one thing I would add, Maureen, is that I do think that it should be known that there, as Maureen has alluded to, there hasn't been universal agreement that about the value of meeting with the city council and the city staff to alter this ordinance, and that the ordinance should exist at all. Just want to make clear, not everybody agrees. I know personally the way that I have approached this is, I shared this with Maureen last week. I try to approach the work that I do in this sector as do no harm. And in the conversations with the city around this ordinance that I don't think should criminalize homelessness at all. Those conversations are about doing less harm if people do end up caught up in that and being reflected by that ordinance. So I appreciate your comments, T.
We started with an ordinance that began with being placed in the power of the police and $1,000 fines and 90 days in jail. So when the mayor reached out and asked for our comments, we gave them. And when Tom's reached out, Councilmember Tom's reached out and asked to meet with us, we said yes. In the same way that if People's Assembly reached out and said, you'd like to meet with us, we'd do the same thing. So, Okay, anybody else? I think that's what I know at the moment, or what I made notes of for the moment.
Al, I see your hand up.
Well, just as a sort of a subtle point, we, in a sense, are caught in the situation of responding to the ordinance and focusing mostly on altering that rather than also advocating at the same time in the same conversations that the city provide some of these resources to homeless folks that we've been asking them to provide. So we've got kind of, in that process of reacting to an ordinance, we've kind of limited what we're advocating.
Except that we changed the whereases.
Yeah, and we did a lot of important. We did a lot of important stuff. I'm not minimizing that. I'm just
no, but I'm just saying that the language, that the work that you've just described, the language is in the whereases to move that forward.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I think these things are important, that we get the city on record with those kinds of statements. I'm not one who believes in criminalization. But you know, $25 beats 1,000, and community service beats $25, and the records would be expunged. So,
Shoko, you had a hand up as well.
Yes, I certainly agree with all of your comments, but the group may not be represented well in this group is the people who live in near encampment, the residents and businesses who have been unfairly influenced by the criminals that related to, not necessarily homeless people, but you know, those who trying to sell drugs to them or associated with the homeless. And so they, I know, are pushing very hard the city about this ordinance. So I fully understand all of your points, but at the same time, something needs to be done to remove them out of those areas.
All right, so I'm going to shift gears. I know that
as always, thank you.
Yeah, and we appreciate all of the perspectives, and as you can probably hear, we are conflicted, and you know, this is an important issue, and it's the reason that we're here every week, to try to help people and to hear their voices and make sure that we can be responsive, and it's not easy. So let's move on to their next item in the agenda, and thank you for that update, Maureen. The next thing we have on the list is an update from the Safe Sites for All group. And I don't know if Colin's available. Jan, do you want to
I'm here.
Okay, Colin.
I'm here, and then I can tap Jan also. So,
okay.
You know, specifically looking at, we had a great Safe Sites for All meeting this week. Specifically looking at the safe parking network. Just moved in a referral last night. I was just private messaging Jan on the side. Someone that came through to Jan, a senior lady that showed up from California. We just got her safely into a site last night, which is great. Some things that are going on with the safe parking network. The Eastside Assembly of Believers site they had agreed to go through April. They pushed on through May, but they're starting to have a lot of activities at their site. So they've officially shut down, which is unfortunate, but it's also is very positive, very interested in doing it again if it's a seasonal thing. They ended up serving 21 individuals at that site, which is great. I got to go through the numbers a little bit more to see exactly how many got housed out of there, but that site is shut down right now. Tacoma, TUUC, I don't know who's on here from TUUC. I kind of gave the update. We had a really good meeting with law enforcement. An officer from the homeless outreach team met us last week on the site. I think, as I mentioned last week, really positive meeting. We are meeting with that officer again on site with TUUC leadership this next week. And we are going to hold a community meeting outdoor at the site with the neighborhood. And the law enforcement officer has agreed to, before the meeting, we're going to go visit the neighbor. There's a belligerent neighbor that's been a challenge to the site. So we've paused putting people on the site because we don't feel like they're safe at our safe site, which kind of defeats the purpose. Our South Hill site has, the pastor from our South Hill site met with, Jeffrey, what church was it? A church out in Key Pen. What's the?
St. John's.
St. John's, out in Key Pen. Or in Gig Harbor. Really positive meeting. They're really interested in moving forward. We have a meeting set up with them for next week, I believe. So that is very exciting. It's going good. Our South Hill site is overflowing. So right now, Tacoma referrals, they're kind of sitting on the back burner because with TUUC being down, we have other couple potentials, but nothing has happened yet. But you know, things are going well. As far as the Safe Sites for All, I don't know if anybody from that group has anything to say, but I mean, I think a lot of the energy is trying to do exactly what we're doing out here right now and figure out ways that we can move forward with some lightly managed or self-governed or managed outdoor sites to meet people where they're at. And I think we're hopefully moving forward on that stuff. So I know we shared some documents again with the city. We shared them with the Safe Sites for All group, and people are reviewing those. And if they have any edits or recommendations, I think they're sharing those. So yeah, lots going on, lots to do.
Thanks, Colin. Jan, did you have anything to add?
Just an example of what a crazy world we live in. I was sitting in a driveway in Tampa, Florida, when I got a text from a woman in California coming to Tacoma, needing a safe parking site. And Colin was able within days to get her into a safe parking site, all with the miracles of modern technology.
That's great. All right, so let's move on to the next item on our agenda, which is Garrett with committee appointments.
Yay, thank you, Rob. As you are aware, hopefully all of you, we are taking the ad hoc committee that the county is putting together to the next stage, which is going to be creating a comprehensive plan to end homelessness over the next 6 months, and also breaking a group out that's going to work on immediate shelter so we can create enough shelter in the community so everyone has a place they belong by November 1st. That's 2 separate groups where we had 2 representatives on the original group. We have been allocated 1 representative on each of those 2 groups. And we would like to find folks on the coalition willing to do that. We sent an email that was sort of at the bottom of the email a few days ago, sort of pushing that kind of formal process is yet to be adopted by county. That'll happen at Tuesday's county council meeting. But we want to be prepared because things moved fast last time. And so we're going to vote for 2 positions to get filled today. So the first one is on the steering committee. So this is a group meeting monthly and perhaps more, and they're going to be responsible for sort of shepherding the process. A big part of this is involving all the voices we need to have in the conversation and being the liaison between that steering committee and the coalition, so that if we feel like they're not bringing enough community voice in, enough lived experience voice in, we can be, active in making that happen, or whatever that particular need is. Maureen, you've got your hand up.
Only to let people know that who are looking for Courtney, that she was invited to be on the steering committee as representing Associated Ministries and Coordinated Entry.
Thank you, Maureen. So again, the commitment on this is monthly meetings and probably significant research outside of that, regular attendance, not perfect attendance, but regular attendance at our coalition steering committee meetings, or at least providing a written report out and then collecting any feedback that might have come from that. And again, somewhat regular attendance at the coalition meetings so that we're able to report out there as well. Skill set is really just an interest in understanding how the homeless system works and a desire to work to make it more effective. I've only received one volunteer for that so far, and that's Maureen. Thank you for putting yourself up for that, Maureen. Was there anyone else that's interested in representing the coalition at that steering committee for the comprehensive plan? You can nominate someone too. And if they're not here, we'll just voluntold them. That's how we roll.
I move the nominations be closed. And we designate.
Well, we'll take Al's suggestion and our loose administrative systems and the general quiet that we have as evidence. And so to keep ourselves in the world of formality, let's go ahead and take a minute to vote. Who should officially represent the coalition on the comprehensive plan to end homelessness?
I don't know if you saw it, Gary.
Oh, yes.
Colleen or Carol Colleran mentioned Larry Sequist as well.
Yeah, Larry is not interested in doing this right now, at least according to my last conversation with him. But if he's on, are you on, Larry? No.
Hey, Garrett, this is Julian Wheeler by phone. Can you, maybe either one of you or Rob, email the question so I could email back the vote? I don't know how to vote by phone. Thank you.
We could just do a voice vote. The question is, who should represent the coalition on the county-led comprehensive plan to end homelessness? The two options are Maureen and abstain.
All right, sorry, phone folks, but there's not enough of you to shift the poll. Glad you're here, Julian. So we have a 87% voting for Maureen, 13% abstaining. So Maureen's got some work to do for the next 6 months. Congratulations, Maureen.
I voted by email, but it was for Maureen. So
all right,
congrats.
So 40 votes then. Thank you. The second we need to, let me get myself organized here. Okay, the second one is to represent the coalition on the on the shelter work group. So this is a much shorter time requirement. So this is something that's going to be, a plan is going to get created by the end of July, and then, or by July 1st, and then implemented by November 1st. And this group will be meeting every other week. And while it's good to know the whole homeless system, the things that you need to be a good representative of the coalition on this work group is an interest in totally understanding how the shelter system works. So you don't need to know how it works, just that willingness to learn it. And again, a willingness, this one more so, willingness to come to the, most of the steering committee meetings and the homeless coalition meetings to keep that line of communication going. And as we're looking to create shelter, this is, this is a role that's pretty vital in keeping, again, all of the flow of communication between the folks on the coalition that are out in the community and the folks providing shelter. Lots of other representatives, like I think James Pogue, who is active in the coalition and also the Continuum and also runs Shelter. And lots of us will be involved in other ways, but as the official coalition representative. And so far we have one volunteer, which is me, but would love to have some other nominations or volunteers.
I nominate Jan Runbeck.
Ooh. Is that something you're interested in, Jan?
That's the best joke I've heard all day. If Garrett is willing to do it, now I could pull a Maureen and ask to be, what was Maureen on the last one? A second or an
alternate?
An alternate. How about is that a possibility?
That's actually what I was nominating you for. I'm sorry if I stepped into something there, but I think Garrett would be great, but I think you'd be a great alternate.
Okay, that'd be okay. Sure.
And I see a couple of additional nominations in the chat. Mike Boyster nominated by Richard Berghammer, and Paula Anderson nominated by Sherry Jensen.
I take my name off because both of those folks are excellent representatives of other parts of our region. I'm mainly a Tacoma person, city of Tacoma person, and Mike and Paula are so much more in the weeds in other areas.
So I don't see Mike on the call unless you're dialed in, but I do see Paula's here. Is that something you'd be interested in, Paula?
What was that? I'm sorry, I was talking to a neighbor here.
I said Paula, not Colin.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I heard Colin. I'm sorry.
So,
Paula?
Yeah, I'm on here. I'm just trying to think if I have enough time. I've got so much going on. That's the only stop to that. Mike would be a good candidate for that, and he has recently retired from multiple positions. So we might check in with him too. And so this is for, tell me again what committee this is.
This is for the shelter work group that the county is putting together that is going to be creating the plan to have enough shelter across the county so everyone has a place they belong by November 1st. So it's meeting every other week, probably through June, and then implementation will be happening over the next few months until November 1st.
Okay.
Hey, Garrett.
Yes.
I've spoken to Mike on numerous occasions over the past 2 weeks. He is interested.
Thank you, Rich. I actually put him on the list because after I said that out loud, I was like, Mike would really like to do this. So, and obviously, those of you that don't know Mike, he's comes from a pastoral background, but he has been one of the driving forces behind the Freezing Nights in Puyallup. All right, that's a group that operates, I think, 5 or 6 months of shelter using an incredibly cost-effective model of churches and in collaboration with Paula and the New Hope Center in Puyallup. And he's present typically at these meetings. And also ran the East Side warming shelter / winter shelter this winter.
Yep.
So Paula, were you interested?
I think Mike would be a better person for that. We can work closely together, and I can provide any kind of input that he would like to get from me to make sure that we cover everything. But I think he would be great at this, and I know he's interested in this. So that would be a hard no. Sorry.
Well, we know where to find you to get your input, Paula.
Exactly.
Just follow the trailer. So far I have Mike Boyster and me and Jan maybe as an alternate.
I'm voting for Mike.
So Garrett Nyland, Mike Boyster on the option list here. And Al, do you want to formally call for kidding? So I think we've hashed this one. So I'm going to go ahead and put it up to a vote. So again, this is voting for the shelter committee to represent the coalition. Ooh, this is going to be a close one. This one's fun, guys.
So are we to assume that one of you will be the representative, the other one will be the alternate?
I think that sounds like a great assumption, Teresa.
Are we going to assume that the two of you are going to work that out, or should we, whoever gets the most votes?
I think
Garrett, this is Julian. I submitted my vote by email.
Great. All right, it's literally separated by one vote. So I'm going to give you guys another 15 seconds here.
See, the emailing and vote is helpful.
Yes.
Well, and I am unable to vote in these.
As am I, Rob. As am I.
You guys, you can email.
And actually, I kind of thought we were going to vote 2 times. One time for the main position and one time for the second position.
No, it doesn't make sense to need to do that.
Okay.
All right, I'm ending it. I'm going to share the results, and with the email vote, that puts Mike Boyster at 23 to 22. So congratulations, Mike. And that was fun. I like our systems. So I'm going to go ahead and thank everybody for being a part of that. And not every day that every vote counts, except yours, Rob, and mine. Thanks, everybody. And I'll go ahead and connect in with Mike.
Awesome. So we've got just a few minutes left. I wanted to turn the floor over to Kelly to run a question by the group or announce something.
Thank you so much, Rob. It's so good to be back. I'll be quick, and I have to say I've missed everybody so much, and it's so nice to be here. So we are discussing revitalizing the Workforce Development Committee as part of the Tacoma Pierce County Coalition to End Homelessness. What has happened in recent, I would say in the last month or two, is we have so many employers right now that are coming to us and hiring. And so we're trying to figure out how to get the word out. So what better way to get the word out than to bring back Hire 253? So we are currently in some discussions with associated ministries to possibly partner with Project Homeless Connect, which I saw was being held at People's Park in September. So I think that's definitely a good option for the next Hire 253. Of course, as always, I would love all of your support in that. And Goodwill is ready. We've toyed around with the idea of having it at our location as well, outdoors, but it's just so up in the air. And I think pushing it out until September may absolutely be doable. But anyway, so that was the exciting news, is that we are revitalizing the Workforce Development Committee, talking about bringing back Hire 253. And I definitely want to talk with each of you as to how we can do maybe smaller employment fairs, really specifically helping those who are experiencing homelessness or in current housing instability. We do have a lot of employers on deck right now that are paying they're paying pretty good wages. I know there was one surgical company that was no experience that was $20 an hour. Goodwill, for instance, we're hiring in our online sales, which is right down in Tacoma at our main building. We no experience necessary anymore. We used to have pretty strict qualifications, and at this point we are just trying to find people to work. Hours can vary, so same thing. And I'm hearing that from employer after employer after employer. So I would definitely like to start connecting with all you, begin that workforce development committee again, and really seeing what we can do as multiple organizations and community members to work together to get that out into the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. So we have just a couple minutes left. Does anybody else have any,
Can I jump in on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, and I didn't talk to Kelly, but to facilitate communication of the rebirth of the Workforce Development Committee, I did create a listserv for the Workforce Development Committee. So if you want to sign up for that, you just have to go to our listserv page on the website, and you can get yourself connected up to that. So currently it's just me on the listserv because I just made it yesterday, but go ahead and get on there. And once meetings get scheduled, we'll have them all up on the coalition website as well.
Julian, is that you on the phone with your hand raised? Well, we have someone on the phone with their hand raised that wants to make a comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is Julian. Julian Wheeler. That's my phone number. So this is your chance to write it down if you want to get in touch with me by phone. Home office number, I should say. But again, chair of the Pierce County Accessible Communities Advisory Committee. And in the event you haven't heard about this, perchance, our next regular session meeting is going to be Tuesday, July 13 at 9 on Zoom, which is now becoming less of a certainty because of the wrapping up of this lockdown. But we're still going to meet by Zoom, and so I wanted to go ahead and invite everyone there. And I just want to really push the points here that we are about our committee is charged with the task of considering projects. Accessibility projects in Pierce County, and we can take a role in voting to advance projects for funding to the Accessible Communities Subcommittee of the Governor's Committee on Disability Issues and Employment. This could really make a difference if any of your projects have an accessibility component to it, and particularly in, let's say, public sector budgets where such projects do not make the cut. So I wanted to emphasize, and this is according to the state law of it's called the Accessible Communities Act of 2010. I really want to encourage people to get involved. Garrett has taken an interest and has already submitted a project. Those results are pending. Incidentally, don't tell me when I said this, but I'm attending the Governor's Committee meeting right now on a different venue. If you're interested, you could look up Governor's Committee on their website, Employment Security Department. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Julian. Al?
This need not be discussed today, but I've been thinking about the Home in Tacoma plan, which is very solid. But the one thing I think is missing is some effort to bring back single room occupancy, boarding house kind of situations that may be helpful with some of the folks that need housing. So let's not discuss that today, but at some point, should we take some position about that? Is only my question.
Thanks, Al. So we are past our time. So I know want to pay close attention and honor people's time. I thank everybody for being here on this Friday. If you want to hang with the group that will do the planning for next week's meeting, we're going to do that here after a short 5-minute break. Otherwise, have a great weekend and appreciate all of you. Have a good weekend.